that people have already started lining up to get their bourbon and to get their American wines and to basically donate to charity. It makes you feel good.
CloserLookPodcast.ca is where you will find all of our back episodes. Welcome to tonight's program. Derek Turner at the helm, as always. Michael Friscolanti, our editor-in-chief. I'm Scott Sexsmith. Good to see everybody. Okay, tonight on the show, this may be a first, we're talking booze.
Yeah, I actually feel like maybe we talk booze too much. I mean, we've done a few episodes.
Have we? Okay.
I know. I feel like we talked about cancer labels on booze.
Fair point.
Empty booze containers.
Yes.
But we're not obsessed with alcohol.
But this could be good news booze.
Yeah, this is
good booze news.
That's good.
Honestly, I have nothing. I have not had a drink.
Didn't even write that down before, and that was good.
That
was really good.
Copyright pending.
We like to say on this show we try to talk about what people are talking about, what people are asking about. Well, people are talking about this today.
Yes, they are.
When the Trump tariffs came into place, I believe all Canadian provinces and territories at the time pulled all U.S. booze off liquor store shelves. So the LCBO here in Ontario, it vanished. It went into – and there were some fun stories in the old days about, well, where did it go? Where are they storing it? Where are they putting it? Yeah. And it's still there. It's still in storage. But some provinces have started saying, you know what? We haven't brought in any new U.S. booze in months. So the boycott's still in place. It's having an impact. U.S. booze producers are feeling the pinch. Yeah. But why don't we take this stock we have and sell it and donate the money to charity? Yeah. Which – to me is a brilliant idea, right? Totally. Because, we've been sitting here, we like the odd bourbon. We like the odd other tastes of American alcohol. But you feel guilty buying it because you're trying to be supportive of, the boycott that's in place. But now you can buy a case of whatever you like, case of American wine, and all that money's going to charity. Or not that story. I buy wine by the case. It's a bad analogy. You buy a bottle of wine and it's going to go to charity. And so it seems like a great idea.
Is it cheaper if you buy in bulk?
I don't think so. No. I think the bottles are the same. Yeah, I'm so rattled. I just dropped my pen as we're talking. But and so it's happening in other provinces. And this week, the Liberal Party in Ontario is putting the heat on the Ford government, saying you need to do this. Of course, there's almost $80 million in U.S. booze in the stockpile, right? So even if they sold some of that, even the stuff that they say might expire, and I don't think your bourbons are going to expire, but
I wouldn't think
some alcohol expires. And their pressure's on. And the Ford government has not said no to this. They're saying they're exploring their options. So my hunch is that there's going to be some kind of announcement at some point about what they're going to do with this.
Well, and at the rate Doug Ford is pouring out Crown Royal, we got to have something back on the shelves to buy.
That's right. But it's just it's a guilt-free pleasure. If you love bourbon, you can go buy a bottle, and you're not that they already bought the LCBO already paid for this booze.
Exactly.
It's just
so why not do some good?
Do some good. The money's going to charity. So we are going to talk about a little bit more about that tonight. Find out what other provinces have done. What whether this actually is a no-brainer as we think it is. Tom Cooper is a business prof at Memorial University in St. John's, a great guy. He's agreed on very short notice to pour a glass and join us on the show.
When Donald Trump first introduced his tariffs, most provinces and territories, including Ontario, responded by pulling U.S. booze off store shelves completely. Now, some provinces have started selling off the American stockpile of bourbon and wine and donating the proceeds to charity. Here in Ontario, the Liberals are urging Doug Ford to do the very same. Joining us tonight to talk about the pros and cons is Tom Cooper, a business professor at Memorial University in St. John's. Professor, thanks for your time tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, Tom, can I start with this question? When the tariffs came into effect, did you agree with the move by provinces like Ontario to pull U.S. booze off the shelves?
Yes, I did. And the reason is it was, you may have said, well, it's a little bit symbolic, but that symbolic still had a lot of pressure. I still remember hearing from U.S. producers of alcohol saying, look, this is hurting our bottom line. And in this type of business, which is very competitive, bottom line is it could be relatively small margins. And so I agreed as at least as a minimum of symbolic move, that it was the right thing to do. And moreover, we as a country and as a nation have to make sure that we protect our own reputation and our own interests. And this was, once again, something that I think Canadians understood, that you weren't going to be able to get your American bourbon to make your old fashions because of what the U.S. president was basically saying, that Canada should become the 51st state.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to lie; it's been a big sacrifice. I do miss my bourbon. It's been a struggle. It's been many months without. We like to have a bourbon once in a while, and it's a big thing. And it has been people say, Tom, well, we already bought this booze. It's already there. It's not making a big difference, but it has made a big difference, especially the ongoing boycott. You feel it from the U.S. producers. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's accurate. I've heard a number of interviews from U.S. producers who've tried to put a little bit of pressure on the Trump administration. At the same time, they don't necessarily want to anger the Trump administration because Donald Trump takes this type of thing personally. To quote Trump, tariffs are beautiful. They're the most awesome, the most beautiful thing he's ever seen. Clearly, there must be a vision problem there, but nonetheless, it has an impact. And whether it's symbolic or at least it makes us think, which is, I think, that was probably one of the most powerful things about the boycott. And like my brother-in-law, who I love, who loves his old fashioned, when the election was going on with the Liberals and Conservatives, he said, "I'll vote for anybody who gets my bourbon back." and I'm sure he was lined up in our liquor stores when they decided to start selling it so he could get his bourbon. I even tried to get him a bottle of something that was kind of sort of close to bourbon when I had to travel to another province, and he says it's not the same.
Not the same.
There's some hardcore people. There's a hardcore out there who want their bourbon and want their Californian wines, and I hope they're going to be happy for a short period of time.
Well, we're definitely going to talk about that. I just want one more thing about how the boycott's working, because we actually had the U.S. ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra, was on our program a few months ago, and he famously told us he couldn't quite understand why people would even do this, right? Yeah. But when you look at the numbers, exports to Canada have dropped by 85%. That's a huge hit to U.S. producers. And I believe it was the Distilled Spirits Council of the United States recently put out a statement saying that it's been very troubling for them, these numbers. So it has worked, right, Professor?
Yeah, it has worked. There's no question. And moreover, they're selling off stock, and the boycott is still going to be there. So it's not like, hey, we're going to start to put things on the shelf. Is that they have this inventory that's sitting there, at least here in Newfoundland, Labrador, and a number of other provinces, and they're saying let's get it out there before Christmas, and that. I can talk about the reasons why it's a good time to do that, but nonetheless, there has been an impact. Way to go, Canada! High five! And I think we've succeeded in terms of, at least in the short term, of what we wanted to achieve.
We have this interesting problem now. Provinces are sitting on millions of dollars worth of U.S. booze, at least 4 of those provinces, Manitoba, Nova Scotia, PEI, and Newfoundland and Labrador, have now decided to sell off the remaining stock and give that money to charity. Is that a good move?
Here in Newfoundland, Labrador, I like to call it a win-win, because the money, the charity, goes to our Community Food Sharing Association, which basically runs a number of food banks. The tariffs also have an implication in terms of prices going up around food, and we here in Newfoundland Labrador are just like the rest of the country in terms of affordability issues, et cetera. And so, especially for marginal communities, I think it's a great win in terms of them getting food banks. And I've done some work in the sector, and I was a chair of a board of a similar organization, is that they do much better than cash than physical donations, because then they can go speak to a grocery store or a food wholesaler and say, I want 1,000 cans of tomatoes. They get it at a much better price than if somebody's just dropping off a bunch of tomatoes. So it's a win-win. And I think, once again, the other thing, if I'm a Crown corporation and who has $2-3 million in terms of inventory, first of all, that's sitting in a warehouse and it's taking up warehouse space, and you can bring other things in. Secondly, it's So first, yeah. So secondly, it has an expiry date. I always think, you should see some of the bottles of whiskey that I have in my liquor cabinet that has a lot of dust on them. But and I love whiskey, but I have people give them to me as a gift. So, but nonetheless, there is expiry dates for some of this alcohol, and this is you. Otherwise, $3 million, if you have to throw out $1 million of it, is going to go into a landfill, et cetera.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you get rid of it? And then thirdly, it's just, once again, I think it's something that's people understand. They can still understand why we are doing this boycott. We're not, and it's profit. It's, once again, it's the, what we paid for it minus the expense, and the profit is going out. It's not necessarily $3 million, maybe $500,000, et cetera, that, at the net profit in terms of what's going on. But I think, once again, there is mimicry going on. If the rest of the provinces weren't doing it, for example, Newfoundland, Labrador, I'm pretty sure would not be doing it. Yeah. But now all the provinces are entering in.
Well, we were just talking before you came on. We think it's a win-win as well because, we all want to be part of this, fighting the terrorists. We understand why the boycott's in place. But now you're telling me I can go buy my favorite American booze and it's all going to go to charity. Yeah. Then we're going to line up at the store to buy whatever we want because we know it's going to go to a great cause. It seems like a no-brainer, Professor.
Yeah, 100%. And we know in Newfoundland and Labrador that people have already started lining up to get their bourbon and to get their American wines and to basically donate to charity. It makes you feel good while you're getting drunk, I guess.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I think it's one of those things. The other thing is that when these disappear, they disappear. It's not like we're ordering a whole bunch of new bourbon or California wines to come in. So I think people also understand the scarcity element. But it's great that it's going to charity, especially government. Is really limited sometimes in terms of their ability to write checks to organizations. And this is something that they can help facilitate through the liquor corporations and basically get the money to people who need it this time of year.
Mm-hmm. And who wouldn't want a nice glass of J-Lo or bread and butter right about now?
100%.
Tom, the Ford government is under increasing pressure to follow suit and sell it off for charity. Do you think they should?
I think so. I think I know Premier Ford has been the Canada lead on this, and of the tariffs and the resistance to the tariffs. He's made some really good political choices, and he made some, I would argue, maybe not some great political choices. For example, the Reagan ad, which stalled the negotiations, but. Mr. Ford he understands the importance of a good drink at Christmas. And for all those people who want their old fashioned or other types of drinks that they can get from this American booze, well, let's celebrate Christmas. Let's get some money to some people at the margins who could really benefit from it. Yeah. And the boycott is still there. It'll be there for probably a while, given what's going on with the Trump administration and how it perceives Canada. And I think if I was sitting to Mr. Ford, I think it's a no-brainer for him.
Yeah, and you talk about the amount of money that this could do good. It's about the stock's worth about $4 million in Nova Scotia. It's worth almost $80 million in Ontario. We're talking a lot of money. It's a lot of money. So it's interesting. The Ford government has not. The Liberal Party here in Ontario is urging them to do it. They have not said no. So they're looking at their options. So knowing what you know, Professor, about how the world works, and you see the trend happening, more provinces doing this, do you think by tomorrow or next week they're going to come out with an announcement saying they're doing something similar?
Yeah, if I was going to put money on it, I'd be a betting man. I'm not a very good betting man. I lose most of the bets that I do, but I would encourage the Ford government, the Conservatives, to do this, and I think it's a good political win for them to do as well. To say, look, we took a hard line. We've been leading the opposition in Canada around the tariffs, but we decided to try and help some groups that really are trying to do good in the community, and even if it's 4 or 5 million out of those 40 million. It's better than it going into landfill. It's better than it's going to waste. And some of that obviously has longer expiry dates, like I think bourbon probably rather than the wine. But nonetheless, let's get it out of the warehouse. And so maybe we can bring in some other drinks from around the world, and we can maybe start enjoying some Albanian wine rather than California wine. So
I like the way you're thinking, Professor. Real quick, I know you're a busy man. You have to go. You have a lot going on. But I just want to ask you, because Alberta, Saskatchewan, and New Brunswick, for example, they're selling U.S. booze again, but they're not giving the money to charity. Is it just in those provinces, would the feeling among consumers just be different? They don't care that they're doing this. Like, how would they sell that to consumers? I guess is my question.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, choice of beer and choice of alcohol is it's very individual. For example, I was mentioning my brother-in-law. I don't think he'd have any qualms about going in because that's important to him. He loves his old fashions.
Yes.
He's a great guy, and etc. And so I don't.
But
think
not a great
really
Canadian, clearly.
Oh no, he's a great Canadian. But that ability to sell it, I think, is going to be depending on your own personal preferences and how you perceive what's going on. I think most of us, I think if we looked at the public opinion polls, the overwhelming sentiment is that the United States is basically not representing Canada very well. And like you mentioned, the 85%, but also tourism, bunch of boycotts on American products. There's a whole bunch of things going on. But still, liquor corporations, even they're separate from government. They're crown corporations, and they may decide, no, this is what we want to do, and we don't want to take profit away from the shareholders, i.e. the public, in terms of how they're going to approach it. So, politics and business, some mix a lot, but sometimes they don't mix. And I think that would be the approach that the New Brunswicks and the Albertas and the other jurisdictions that are continuing to sell American booze. That's the approach that they're taking. They want to be out of the political stream, which I appreciate, but I have no problem with the existing boycott. I just got to figure out ways to get my brother-in-law his occasional bottle of bourbon to keep things going. So I have to go through. I have to go to the UK in March to teach. I have to go through duty free. That's one of the bottles I'll definitely be buying.
That's right. As you said, politics and business don't mix. I know you. No pun intended. I'm sure, since we're talking about booze.
Yeah.
Tom, before we let you go, anything we didn't cover, booze related or otherwise, that you want to touch on?
No, it's I really appreciate the invite to be here on the podcast and on the interview. I think it's and if you do buy American booze and you're having a drink around Christmas, just think about the tariffs and think about how you can buy more Canadian products. For example, there's a really great I found a really great company in Ontario that sells hoodies and T-shirts, and I ordered from them for Christmas for myself, and really impressed with the quality, etc. I think it's just trying to think, once again, as Canadians, how do we support local business? How do we continue to buy Canadian? And if that means you have to go eventually end up drinking rye in your bourbon rather than rye in your old fashioned rather than the bourbon, well, then that's the sacrifice we have to make. But I think leaning into our sovereignty and leaning into the importance of at least showing the Americans that we don't like the notion of these tariffs or the way that the Trump administration is portraying us as the 51st state, to me, that's good business. So.
All right, good stuff. There's Tom Cooper, a business professor at Memorial University in St. John's. Given tonight's topic, Tom, it seems a fitting way to end the show. Cheers.
Cheers.
I don't know about you, but I'm a little parched.
Yeah, I know, and I'm more convinced than ever that this is like if you're in charge of the premier, for example, this is pretty much a no-brainer.
What a Christmas gift to give the province.
What else are you going to do with this stuff? There's nothing else you can do with it. You've already bought it.
You've paid for it.
It's in your garage. You put it on Facebook Marketplace.
Isn't that interesting, though, that nobody knows where this stuff is stored?
No, it's like a mystery. I know.
Yeah.
I know. Wouldn't it be great, man? If anyone knows, if you work at the LCBO.
Investigative journalism.
Yeah, email us
right
at
there.
investigativejournalism@closerlook.something. Yeah, no, it'd be fascinating to know that. But I think I really do feel like they'll make that decision to do it. And as Tom said, once one province does it and another one follows, then it becomes just that much more acceptable and seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And he makes a good point too. Like I rarely spend any time thinking about warehouse space and where things are stored, but it's a good point.
Well, you said the number was what, $80 million?
$80 million worth of booze.
Now that's across the province, but
it's a lot.
Still, just think in Toronto alone.
Yeah, you got
GTA.
Yeah, you have to put that somewhere. So
it's a lot of bread and butter.
A lot of bread and butter. That's right. There you go. See? A lot of bread.
All right.
Good stuff. Good week.
Good week. Good stuff. All right. For Derek Turner, producer of this podcast each and every day. Closer look at villagemedia.ca. We'd love to hear from you. Any feedback, booze-related or otherwise. And, of course, you can check us out at closerlookpodcast.ca. For Michael Friscolanti, our editor-in-chief here at Village Media, I'm Scott Sexsmith. Have a great Thursday night. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7, Friday edition, right here on Closer Look.
Frisco and Scott's Wardrobe provided in part by Moores, Sault Ste. Marie.